What if the gap between who you are and who you could become is not talent, not intelligence, not luck, but one neglected discipline, consistency, not the kind that lasts for 3 weeks, not the kind that lasts for 3 weeks, not the kind that appears when motivation is high, not the kind that collapses the moment resistance rises. Real consistency, the kind that survives boredom, survives chaos, survives exhaustion, survives the voice in your head that whispers, "You can skip today." You felt that voice. You start strong. You feel momentum. You make promises to yourself. This time will be different. Then life interferes. You sleep poorly. Something goes wrong. You feel off. You negotiate. And just like that, the chain breaks. Not dramatically, quietly, one small compromise, one postponed effort, one excuse that feels reasonable, and then the old pattern returns. The Stoics understood this war. They did not face smartphones, but they faced plague, betrayal, exile, political assassination, and death. They lived in uncertainty, and still they maintained discipline. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire at war. Yet every morning he wrote to himself like a man preparing for battle. In Meditations, Book 5, he reminds himself, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work as a human being.'" This was not inspiration. This was self-command. He did not wait to feel ready. He did not wait for comfort. He did not consult his mood. He moved. Because he understood something most people never grasp. Consistency is not about emotion. It is about jurisdiction. And that brings us to the first principle. Lesson 1. The dichotomy of control. Master your kingdom. Epictetus, born a slave, wrote the most liberating sentence in Stoic philosophy. Some things are within our control and others are not. It sounds simple. It is devastatingly powerful. Most people destroy their consistency by fighting wars they cannot win. They worry about reputation. They obsess over outcomes. They replay conversations. They anticipate criticism. They try to control how others perceive them. And by the time they sit down to do the actual work, they are exhausted, energy scattered, focus fractured, discipline diluted. The Stoics drew a hard line. On one side, your effort, your attitude, your discipline, your response, your daily action. On the other side, results. Other people's opinions, external events, circumstances, recognition. Most people live on the wrong side of the line. They want guaranteed outcomes before they commit effort. They want applause before they begin. They want certainty before they move. The Stoic does the opposite. He abandons the outcome. He claims the action, because the action is sovereign territory. Here is the truth. You cannot control whether the world rewards you. But you can control whether you show up. You cannot control how you feel when you wake up, but you can control whether you stand. You cannot control resistance, but you can control response. Tomorrow morning, your mind will begin its negotiations. I'm tired. Today isn't ideal. I'll restock Monday. Notice something. Those are not commands, they are impressions. Epictetus called this the discipline of separating appearance from judgment. The thought appears automatically. You choose whether to believe it. That is control. The moment you realize that feelings are not instructions, something shifts. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" You start asking, "Is it within my control?" If the answer is yes, you move. No debate, no drama, no performance, just movement. This is how consistency becomes lighter, because you are no longer carrying the impossible weight of external reality. You are carrying only what belongs to you, your effort. And that weight, though heavy, is clean. There is power in narrowing the battlefield. There is clarity in refusing to fight ghosts. The world is chaotic. It will remain chaotic. But inside that chaos, there is a small kingdom that belongs entirely to you. Your response, your discipline, your next action. That is enough. Most men fail not because they lack strength, they fail because they scatter it. The Stoic gathers it, condenses it, directs it into one place, daily action. And here is the quiet shift that changes everything. When you focus only on what you control, consistency stops feeling like force. It becomes inevitability, because nothing external can prevent you from acting. Only you can. And that realization is both terrifying and liberating. There are no more excuses, but there is also no more helplessness. Tomorrow morning, when resistance appears, do not argue with it. Ask one question. Is getting out of bed within my control? Yes? Then stand. That is how it begins. But knowing what to control is only the foundation. Because when life becomes difficult, and it will, most people abandon discipline. The Stoics did something radical in those moments. They did not curse their circumstances. They used them. Lesson 2, amor fati. Most people are conditionally disciplined. They say they want transformation. They say they want an aspiration. They say they want mastery. They say they want change. But only if conditions cooperate, only if sleep was good, only if stress is low, only if motivation appears, only if motivation appears, only if life softens its edges. They build their discipline on comfort, and comfort is unstable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." This is amor fati, not passive acceptance, not resignation, transformation through combustion. The fire does not argue with what is thrown into it. It consumes it. Most people do the opposite. When something disrupts their plan, they retreat. Bad day, tomorrow will be better. Unexpected problem, not today. Unexpected problem, not today. Emotionally drained, I need a reset. The Stoic sees difficulty differently, not as interruption, as invitation. You must understand this clearly. The obstacle is not separate from the path. It is the path. When things go wrong, most people interpret it as a signal to stop. The Stoic interprets it as the moment discipline becomes real. Anyone can act when it feels smooth. Anyone can show up when energy is high. Anyone can commit when circumstances are ideal. That proves nothing. Discipline begins where preference ends. The moment you don't feel like it, that is the moment that counts. Amor fati removes the conditional language from your life. No more "I'll be consistent when." There is only "I will act regardless." But this is not about pretending difficulty is pleasant. It is about understanding its function. Resistance builds capacity. Chaos builds structure. Fatigue builds will. When you train only on good days, you become fragile. When you train on bad days, you become dangerous. Marcus Aurelius did not write meditations during peaceful comfort. He wrote it in military tents, during war, surrounded by disease, under pressure that would crush most modern men. And what did he do? He wrote to himself. He corrected himself. He dishelped himself. Because he understood something radical. Circumstances do not excuse inconsistency. They reveal character. Tomorrow, something will go wrong. It always does. A plan will collapse. Energy will dip. Mood will fluctuate. Unexpected friction will appear. This is not sabotage. This is training. Most people collapse because they interpret resistance emotionally. This is too much. This shouldn't be happening. This is unfair. Amor fati removes that internal rebellion. It replaces it with something quieter. This is part of it. You do not need to enjoy it. You need to use it. When you are tired and still show up, you build trust with yourself. When you are frustrated and still execute, you build stability. When you are overwhelmed and still act, you build identity. And identity is what sustains consistency long term, because consistency is not a habit, it is self-definition. You are either someone who moves regardless, or someone who waits for permission from mood. The Stoics never waited. They did not curse the rain. They marched in it. They did not complain about hardship. They converted it. The phrase, "love your fate," does not mean you celebrate suffering. It means you stop negotiating with reality. Reality is neutral. Your interpretation creates friction. When something difficult appears, say internally, good, not because it feels good, because it strengthens you, you begin to associate hardship with growth, and once that association forms, something shifts. You stop fearing difficulty, you start needing it. The weak need comfort to act. The strong need resistance to sharpen themselves. This is why waiting for perfect conditions is a permanent trap. Life does not calm down, it escalates. If you cannot be consistent inside imperfection, you will never be consistent at all. There is a moment, quiet, subtle, when you decide whether your discipline is emotional or structural. Emotional discipline depends on how you feel. Structural discipline depends on what you've decided. Amor fati builds structural discipline. It removes the fantasy that transformation will feel smooth. It replaces it with acceptance that transformation feels like pressure. The fire does not ask whether it wants to burn. It burns because that is its nature. When difficulty arrives, ask, is this stopping me or shaping me? If it shapes you, it serves you. If it serves you, you use it. That is amor fati. You do not wait for calm waters. You become stronger in the storm. But loving difficulty alone is not enough, because even when you accept hardship, something else still threatens consistency. Surprise, unexpected resistance, moments you didn't anticipate. The Stoics had a method for eliminating surprise. Lesson 3, premeditatio malorum. Most people don't fail because they are weak. They fail because they are surprised. Surprised by how hard it feels. Surprised by how quickly motivation fades. Surprised by how persistent resistance becomes. They begin with optimism. They imagine smooth progress. They imagine daily momentum. They imagine a steady climb. And then life interferes. Fatigue appears. Distraction multiplies. Mood shifts. Obligations collide. And because they did not expect friction, they interpret it as a sign. Maybe this isn't right. Maybe I need a break. Maybe I'll restart fresh. The Stoics did something radically different. They expected the storm. Seneca wrote, "The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." This is premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of difficulty. It sounds pessimistic. It is preparation. The weak hope for smooth days. The disciplined prepare for difficult ones. Here is the truth most people refuse to accept. You will not feel motivated every day. You will not wake up energized every morning. You will not remain emotionally steady throughout the week. There will be friction. There will be boredom. There will be internal resistance that feels heavier than logic. If you do not plan for this, it will defeat you repeatedly. Premeditatio malorum removes surprise from the equation, and surprise is the doorway through which inconsistency enters. Every night before sleep, the Stoic would examine the next day, not with anxiety, with strategy. What would anxiety? With strategy. What will attempt to derail me? They did not pretend resistance would not appear, they assumed it would. Tomorrow morning you will want to stay in bed. Tomorrow afternoon you will want to check your phone instead of work. Tomorrow evening you will consider postponing your discipline because you are tired. These are not possibilities, they are patterns. The difference between a man who lasts 2 weeks and a man who lasts 2 decades is simple. One reacts in the moment, the other decides in advance. Here is how you practice this. Before sleep, sit in silence for 5 minutes. Visualize tomorrow's friction. See yourself waking up groggy. Feel the urge to negotiate. Then see yourself standing immediately, not dramatically, decisively. See yourself mid-afternoon, attention drifting. Feel the pull of distraction. Then see yourself closing the app and returning to work. See the evening fatigue. See the temptation to skip. Then see yourself shortening the session, but showing up anyway. You are building responses before the battle begins. Most people think discipline requires willpower. It does not. It requires pre-commitment. Every time you face resistance in the moment and try to decide what to do, you introduce risk. Your tired mind will rationalize. Your emotions will generate convincing arguments. Your brain is designed to conserve energy, not build greatness. If you leave the decision to the moment of weakness, weakness will often win. Premeditatio malorum eliminates the decision. The decision was already made the night before. When the resistance appears, it is no longer a debate. It is a cue. You do not think, you execute. Marcus Aurelius did this each morning. Before interacting with the world, he reminded himself, you will meet meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious and antisocial people. He was not being cynical, he was removing shock. When difficulty arrived, he was not destabilized. He had already seen it in his mind. The modern equivalent is simple. Expect boredom, expect destruction, expect emotional fluctuation, expect doubt. When these arrive, and they will, do not label them as failure. Label them as confirmation. This is what I prepared for. The moment you say that, the emotional charge weakens. You are no longer caught off guard. You are inside a script you have rehearsed. There is power in this, because most people collapse not from intensity, but from unpredictability. When something feels unexpected, it feels threatening. When something is anticipated, it feels manageable. Rehearsal builds psychological immunity. Over time, resistance loses its drama. You stop saying, "Why is this happening?" You start saying, "Why is this happening?" You start saying, "Right on schedule." That shift alone builds long-term consistency, because the mind relaxes when it knows what to expect, and consistency thrives in predictability. But preparation must be specific. Vague preparation fails. Do not say, "Tomorrow might be hard." Say, "At 3 p.m. I will want to scroll instead of write. When that happens, I will put my phone in another room and work for 20 minutes. Specific responses override vague excuses. And here is the deeper layer. When you rehearse discipline repeatedly, your identity changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to be consistent. You become someone who expects resistance and moves anyway. That expectation creates inevitability. But even preparation is not enough if you believe you have unlimited time. Because the greatest destroyer of consistency is not resistance. It is delay. Lesson 4. Memento mori. There is a silent assumption destroying your consistency. You believe you have time, not consciously, but structurally. You postpone because tomorrow feels guaranteed. You delay because next week feels available. You hesitate because the future feels expandable. And because it feels expandable, urgency dissolves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This is not morbid. It is clarifying. The Stoics practice memento mori, the remembrance of death, not to cultivate fear, but precision. When you remember that time is finite, distraction loses its charm. When you remember that days are numbered, excuses shrink. Most people behave as if life is a rehearsal, as if the real version begins later. After they are ready, after they are confident, after conditions improve. But there is no rehearsal, there is only performance. Every day you delay discipline, you are not preserving time, you are spending it. The tragedy is not that people fail. The tragedy is that they assume they can restart indefinitely. I'll get serious next month. I'll rebuild next year. I'm still young. There's time. Time is the one resource that does not replenish. You can regain money, you can regain status, you can regain strength. You cannot regain a lost day. Seneca wrote in On the Shortness of Life, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Consistency collapses when urgency fades. When you believe there will always be another opportunity to correct yourself, discipline becomes optional. Memento mori removes optionality. It forces the question, if today were one of your last days, would you act differently? Not dramatically, but honestly. Would you scroll aimlessly for hours? Would you negotiate with your goals? Would you postpone effort for comfort, or would you move with intention? Death is the ultimate equalizer. It does not negotiate. It does not delay. It does not accept excuses. And remembering this does something powerful. It sharpens focus. When you internalize that time is limited, small distractions lose authority. You become selective, more deliberate, less reactive. The Stoics were not obsessed with death. They were obsessed with living properly before it arrived. Marcus Aurelius did not remind himself of death to feel anxious. He reminded himself to eliminate triviality. There is a difference between being busy and being purposeful. Memento mori forces you to see that difference. How much of your inconsistency is really avoidance? How much of your delay is disguised fear? When you postpone discipline, what you are often postponing is discomfort. But discomfort is temporary. Time loss is permanent. Imagine looking back on this year from the final week of your life. What would you regret more? That you tried and struggled, or that you postponed and drifted? Clarity appears quickly when framed that way. This is not about panic, it is about priority. When you wake up tomorrow, ask, if this were one of my last 100 mornings, would I still negotiate with this alarm? The answer is obvious, and that obviousness is power, because it eliminates debate. Most people wait for motivation. Memento mori replaces motivation with urgency. Urgency does not require emotion, it requires awareness. You do not need to feel inspired to act. You need to understand the cost of not acting. Time will pass whether you are disciplined or not. The difference is what you build inside it. The Stoics understood that death is not an interruption of life. It is the boundary that gives life shape. Without limits, there is no structure. Without limits, there is no weight to decisions. When you internalize finitude, your days gain gravity. You stop treating them casually. And consistency thrives in gravity, because gravity anchors you to what matters. You become less tolerant of wasted hours, less patient with self-deception, less forgiving of your own excuses, not harshly, clearly. There is something liberating about accepting mortality. It removes the illusion that you can afford to drift. It removes the fantasy that you can restart endlessly. It compresses time into value, and when time feels valuable, your actions align accordingly. But even remembering death does not guarantee consistency, because knowing time is short can either sharpen you or overwhelm you. To ensure it sharpens you, you must learn how to manage your internal reactions moment by moment. Lesson 5. The discipline of perception. Most people believe that problem is action. It is not. It is interpretation. Long before you skip the workout, long before you delay the work, long before you abandon the plan, a thought appears. Quiet, fast, automatic. I'm too tired. This isn't working. It won't matter if I miss one day. I'll restart properly later. You rarely notice the moment it enters. You only notice the outcome. But the Stoics trained themselves to intercept the first thought. Epictetus taught, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. The event is neutral. The interpretation gives it power. You wake up tired. That is a fact. The thought appears. This is a bad day. That is an interpretation. If you accept the interpretation, your behavior follows. Fatigue becomes permission. Mood becomes authority. But if you interrupt the interpretation, the chain breaks. The Stoics called this the discipline of assent. When an impression appears, you do not automatically agree with it. You examine it. Most people treat their thoughts as commands. The Stoic treats them as proposals. A proposal can be rejected. This is the moment where consistency either lives or dies, because the first thought sets the tone for the day. When resistance appears, you have two options: agree and follow it, or question and control it. Here is what usually happens. You wake up slightly tired. The mind says, you need more rest. You agree. You stay in bed. You wake up later, slightly rushed. The mind says, today feels off. You agree. The day unfolds sloppily. It was not the tiredness that ruined consistency. It was the agreement. Fatigue is physical. Defeat is interpretive. The disciplined mind creates distance between sensation and meaning. You can feel tired without declaring the day lost. You can feel bored without declaring the task pointless. You can feel doubt without declaring yourself incapable. That separation is power. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself constantly, remove your judgment and you remove the thought, I am harmed. Remove that and the harm itself is gone. This is not denial, it is filtration. Most thoughts are exaggerated. Your brain is designed for efficiency, not excellence. It seeks comfort. It avoids strain. It rationalizes shortcuts. If you do not filter these impulses, they run you. And if they run you, consistency becomes impossible. The practice is simple. When the first negative thought appears, pause. Do not fight it emotionally. Label it. This is resistance. Then ask, is this thought useful? Not true. Useful. A thought can feel true and still sabotage you. I'm exhausted. Maybe you are. But does that mean skipping discipline serves your long-term identity? Probably not. So you choose differently. The key here is speed. If you wait too long, the thought roots itself. It gathers supporting arguments. It builds a case. Soon, you are not evaluating it. You are defending it. Interrupt early. Catch the thought at the door. Replace interpretation, not reality. Catch the thought at the door. Replace interpretation, not reality. Instead of, this day is ruined, say, this day is heavy, and I will move anyway. Instead of, I don't feel motivated, say, motivation is irrelevant. Instead of, I'll restart tomorrow, say, tomorrow is built from today. You are not forcing positivity, you are enforcing direction. Consistency is not maintained by emotion, it is maintained by cognitive discipline. And cognitive discipline begins at the first thought. This is why two people with identical circumstances produce different outcomes. One agrees with every limiting impression, the other filters them. Over time, this becomes identity. You stop identifying with every fluctuation. You stop saying, I am lazy. You start saying, I experienced resistance and acted anyway. That distinction compounds, because when you no longer label yourself through temporary thoughts, you gain stability. Stability sustains repetition. Repetition builds consistency. But mastering perception alone is not enough, because even if you controlled your first thought, there will be days when effort feels invisible. Days when progress feels slow, days when results do not appear, and in those moments something deeper threatens discipline. Discouragement. To overcome that, you must understand a principle. The Stoics practiced relentlessly, the focus on process over outcome. Lesson 6. Fall in love with the process. Most people begin with fire. Clear goals, strong emotion, visible ambition. They imagine the outcome vividly. The stronger body, the sharper mind, the financial freedom, the recognition, and that vision fuels them, briefly. But then something happens. Progress slows, results delay, effort feels repetitive, and the mind begins whispering, is this even working? This is where consistency collapses, not because the person lacks discipline, because they attached discipline to reward. The Stoics severed that attachment. Epictetus said, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. What is in your power? Effort, execution, repetition. What is not in your power? Recognition, speed of results, external validation, timing. When you tie your consistency to results, you surrender control, because results fluctuate. Markets change, bodies plateau, algorithms shift, other people respond unpredictably. If your motivation depends on those outcomes, your discipline will mirror their instability. But if your discipline depends only on your execution, it becomes stable. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself daily, not about victory, but about duty. He did not say, "I will rule perfectly." He said, "I will do my work as a human being." There is power in narrowing focus. You do not control the harvest. You control the planting. Most people watch the soil impatiently. They plant once, then dig up the seed to check if it is growing. Consistency requires faith in process, but not blind faith. Structured faith, the understanding that repetition compounds invisibly before it compounds visibly. The gym does not reward you after 1 week. Writing does not reward you after 1 month. Financial discipline does not reward you after 1 decision. But beneath the surface, structure is forming. When you detach from the outcome, something liberating happens. You stop measuring daily. You stop evaluating worth through progress speed. You start showing up because showing up is who you are. This is the transition from goal-based identity to process-based identity. Goal-based identity says, "I am successful when I achieve X." Process-based identity says, "I am disciplined because I act daily." One depends on the future, the other depends on the present. Which one is more stable? Most inconsistency is disguised impatience. You do not quit because you are incapable. You quit because you expected faster reward. The Stoics understood time differently. They did not demand quick victories, they demanded correct action. And correct action repeated enough times creates outcome naturally. Here is a dangerous pattern to notice. When progress is visible, you feel motivated. When progress slows, you hesitate. That reveals attachment. If you only act when improvement is obvious, your discipline is conditional. True consistency acts regardless of visible reward. You must learn to enjoy repetition, to appreciate small execution, to respect daily structure. Because greatness is not built through dramatic leaps. It is built through quiet accumulation. There is dignity in process. There is power in showing up when nothing applauds you. Marcus Aurelius was emperor. No one could have forced him to maintain his internal discipline. Yet he wrote nightly reflections, not because someone was watching, because self-governance mattered more than spectacle. That is the level consistency demands. You must become less interested in applause and more interested in alignment. Ask yourself, if no one ever praised this effort, would I still do it? If the answer is no, your motivation is external. External motivation fades. Internal alignment endures. You must begin to measure different metrics. Did I act? Did I keep my word? Did I execute the plan I set? If yes, the day is successful, regardless of outcome. This protects your momentum, because it prevents emotional collapse during plateaus. There will be weeks where results are invisible. If you panic then, you destroy compounding. Compounding requires patience. Patience requires detachment. Detachment requires clarity about control. And clarity about control returns us to lesson 1. Everything the Stoics built was circular. Control perception. Accept fate. Rehearse difficulty. Remember death. Master the first thought. Detach from outcome. Each principle supports the others. But even loving the process is not enough if your environment constantly pulls you off course, because consistency is not built in isolation from influence. Lesson 7. Eliminate silent sabotage. You can master your thoughts. You can accept difficulty. You can detach from outcomes. You can rehearse resistance and still fail. Not because you are weak, because your environment is stronger than your will. Most people believe consistency is purely internal. It is not. It is structural. Epictetus warned his students, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because improvement often requires separation, distance from habits, distance from noise, distance from people who normalize mediocrity. Environment shapes behavior silently. You do not wake up intending to drift. You drift because everything around you encourages ease. Phones within reach, notifications constant, conversations trivial, standards low, and slowly your discipline erodes, not dramatically but incrementally. The Stoics understood that self-mastery requires boundary, not only internal boundary, external boundary. Marcus Aurelius wrote about retreating into himself, but he did not mean isolation from responsibility. He meant guarding mental space. Today, mental space is under attack. Your attention is harvested, your impulses are monetized, your impulses are knit a stage, your distraction is engineered, and you are expected to build discipline inside that chaos. That is unrealistic. You must design friction for what weakens you, and reduce friction for what strengthens you. Most people do the opposite. They make distraction effortless and discipline inconvenient. Phone beside the bed, streaming apps one click away, unstructured evenings, open tabs everywhere, then they wonder why consistency feels heavy. Environment is not neutral. It either supports your identity or undermines it. Look at your space honestly. Does it reflect who you want to become or who you have been? If your environment mirrors your old habits will reappear. Not because you lack discipline, because cues trigger patterns. This is not philosophy. It is psychology. Behavior is cued more than chosen. If you want to wake early, your phone cannot sleep beside you. If you want to write, your workspace cannot resemble your leisure space. If you want to train, your training must be scheduled, visible, prepared. The Stoics simplified their lives deliberately, not as aesthetic minimalism, as strategic clarity. Fewer variables, fewer temptations, fewer emotional triggers. You cannot be consistent in a life built around distraction. You must create zones, zones of focus, zones of rest, zones of discipline. When everything blends together, discipline dissolves. And environment is not only physical, it is relational. Who do you spend time with? Are they builders or complainers? Do they normalize drift or respect structure? You become the average of repeated influence. If the people around you mock ambition, you will shrink unconsciously. If they normalize inconsistency, your standards soften. The Stoics chose companions carefully, not from arrogance, from preservation, because identity is fragile in early formation. If you are rebuilding yourself, protect that rebuild. Not everyone deserves access to your transformation phase. You must also guard informational environment. What do you consume daily? Does it sharpen you or numb you? Consistency thrives in clarity. It collapses in overstimulation. There is a reason your discipline feels easier after silence. Because silence restores control. Most people never experience true silence, and so their minds remain reactive. To build consistency, reduce noise. Deliberately. Set hours without input, without scrolling, without passive consumption. You will notice something unsettling at first. Restlessness. That restlessness is dependency surfacing. Stay with it. Your nervous system recalibrates when not constantly fed novelty. And once it recalibrates, focus strengthens naturally. The goal is not to eliminate the modern world. It is to structure your relationship to it. Environment is leverage. Leverage multiplies effort. You can use 100% willpower in a chaotic space and still struggle, or use 50% willpower in a structured space and succeed. Choose leverage. Ask yourself, what in my current environment makes discipline harder than it needs to be? Remove one element this week, then another, then another. Small environmental shifts compound like behavioral ones. Consistency becomes lighter when your surroundings align with your standards. But there is one final element. Even with the right environment, even with disciplined perception, even with detachment and urgency, there remains a final test. The test of repetition without emotion, of continuing when nothing feels dramatic. And that is where Lesson 8 begins. Lesson 8, identity through repetition. At the beginning, you thought consistency was about effort. Then you realized it was about control, about perception, about accepting fate, about rehearsing resistance, about remembering death, about detaching from results, about protecting your environment. But all of those lessons converge into one truth. Consistency is identity, not performance, not streaks, not intensity. Identity. Most people try to build consistency through bursts. They go hard, they go extreme, they overcommit, they feel powerful, then they collapse. Because bursts are emotional, identity is structural. Marcus Aurelius did not wake up asking if he felt like being emperor. He was emperor. Epictetus did not decide daily whether he would be disciplined. He was disciplined. The difference is subtle but absolute. When something is part of your identity, it does not require negotiation. It requires expression. You brush your teeth without motivation. You lock your door without debate. Why? Because those actions are integrated. You do not ask, do I feel like hygiene today? You do it. The goal is not to be motivated to act. The goal is to make action automatic. That happens through repetition without drama. This is where most people fail. They expect consistency to feel powerful. It does not. Most days of consistency feel ordinary, sometimes boring, sometimes heavy, rarely cinematic, and because it feels ordinary, they assume it is ineffective. They want the rush. They want visible transformation. They want momentum they can feel. But identity is built in monotony. You do the work again and again and again until it no longer feels optional. Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." He did not say, "As long as you live, chase intensity." He said, "Keep learning, keep refining, keep showing up." The disciplined man is not the man who never struggles. He is the man who returns. Returns after a bad day, returns after a distraction, returns after failure, returns after failure, returns after failure, returns after fatigue, without self-hatred, without theatrics, without dramatic resets, just return. This is the quiet power most overlook. You will break a streak, you will slip, you will misjudge a moment. What defines you is not the break, it is the speed of return. Most people attach shame to inconsistency. Shame prolongs collapse. The Stoic corrects calmly. No emotional spiral, just adjustment. When you remove drama from failure, you shorten its lifespan. And when you shorten its lifespan, consistency stabilizes. You must understand something clearly. There is no final version of you. There is only daily alignment. The man you want to become is built through small confirmations. Each time you show up when it is inconvenient, you vote for that identity. Each time you act without external validation, you reinforce that identity. Each time you keep your word to yourself, you strengthen trust. Trust with yourself is the foundation of discipline. When you repeatedly prove that you will act regardless of mood, your self-trust deepens. And once self-trust is strong, consistency feels lighter. Because doubt decreases, the voice that used to whisper, "You won't last," grows quiet. It has evidence now. You have history. History is powerful. You are not hoping to be disciplined. You have demonstrated it. This is why repetition matters more than intensity. Intensity builds excitement. Repetition builds credibility, not public credibility, internal credibility, and once you respect yourself, your actions align naturally. There is no need for constant inspiration. There is no need for external pressure. You become self-regulating. This is the Stoic ideal, not emotional suppression, not rigid perfection. Steady governance of self. The world will remain unpredictable. Circumstances will remain unstable. Mood will fluctuate. Energy will vary. But identity, if built properly, remains constant. You do not rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your identity. So the question is no longer, how do I stay consistent? The question becomes, who am I? Are you someone who negotiates with resistance, or someone who acts despite it? Are you someone who acts despite it? Are you someone who waits for the right mood, or someone who moves regardless? Every day answers that question, not in speeches, in behavior. The Stoics did not preach consistency. They embodied it, quietly, without applause, without announcement. You now have the structure. Control what is yours. Love resistance. Rehearse difficulty. Remember death. Master perception. Detach from outcome. Protect your environment. Return without drama. There is nothing mystical about consistency. It is daily self-governance. And the man who governs himself cannot be easily shaken, not by mood, not by chaos, not by delay. He shows up again and again and again and again and again until who he is and what he does become the same thing. That is consistency, and that is power.